Nowhere in the world has a richer history of rap than New York. The state has seen consistent talent and inspired many with its style. Rap has been a tool used since its creation to voice the issues plaguing the black community during the 80s, 90s, and even now. Today, it's really only seen as entertainment, and not without good reason. It's extremely entertaining. It was originally created as a way to hype up parties, create great events, and bring communities together, as well as speak on topics less talked about. South Bronx specifically is known to be the birthplace of hip hop, as DJ Kool Herc's performances created a sort of hype and musical movement that would lay the foundation for his point in creating hip hop through the use of DJ turntables. As we know it today, DJ Kool Herc was instrumental in creating the beats that we attribute the original sound as well as the current sound of hip hop with his creation of hip hop beats. Rappers would decide to freestyle on these beats, creating a more even hype cycle that was done around the beats that we now refer to as hip hop. Usually done at parks for money or on the train, a lot of rappers would perform in the streets to build their names as rap records weren't birthed yet. And if boomboxes or DJ turntables weren't available, rappers would usually have someone beatbox for them. Two of the most pivotal and important figures in creating hip-hop as we know it through its sounds were Afrika Bambaataa as well as DJ Kool Herc. Afrika Bambaataa would contribute through his performances on stage as well as him preaching the elements at which hip-hop was very much centered around: graffiti, MCing, breakdancing, turntables, as well as DJ Kool Herc's party performances, specifically creating a hype around hip-hop as mostly a musical movement. Now I'll dive into a few important political rap songs that had messages for the black community. The Message by Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five would send a reality check on what inner city life was like for the average black American in New York. Talks of things like poverty, drug addiction, mental illness, damage to the youth, the school to prison pipeline, police brutality and monitoring, and very real subjects concerning the black community that needed a change at the time. This was definitely the most important rap song in hip-hop history, no exaggeration. KRS-One was probably the most politically purposed rapper at this time. With his song Sound of the Police, he would draw comparisons between slave plantation overseers and police officers, saying their names sound similar and drawing comparisons between their violent behavior towards and around black people as a means of keeping them in check. This song would go to shake the world as it was very alarming and assertive, similar to NWA's Fuck the Police. However, years before the song would be released. This song is very alarming and eccentric with its tone, almost though to describe police as being so dangerous that one must protect themselves around them and know their rights, as well as use their Second Amendment to protect themselves. Next song is the song Fight the Power by the rap group Public Enemy, in which they denounce established systems of power as they don't help or serve any purpose in creating a better environment for the people that they are serving over. In this case, the point would be to tear down these powers as they don't serve any purpose. With a timeless message, will forever be cemented in hip-hop's purpose political movement, and speaking on topics that were important to the black community. Now we'll dive into a few instances of important rap beefs occurring between New York rappers. First, we'll look at Kool Moe Dee versus Busy Bee, a rap battle that happened on a stage in front of a party of people in which Kool Moe Dee would be out searching for the best rapper he could find, who at the time was Busy Bee, known for his ability to get a crowd hype, who was looking for the trophy at the rap battle. Instead, was met with Kool Moe Dee bringing him back on stage and lyrically destroying him in front of everybody, as Busy Bee was really only a rapper who could get a party hype. He would come at Busy Bee so destructively that in a way, it almost made him never want to rap again. Kool Moe Dee was never afraid to step to a rapper who he felt that he was better than. Kool Moe Dee would obviously win this rap battle as it was against an opponent that was very much inferior to his ability to go at somebody. However, with his next beef, He would prove he was able to go at rappers who were younger and on the rise while he was almost on the way out pretty much. He felt slighted by the young rapper LL Cool J, as he felt as though LL wasn't paying his respects or homage and in fact disrespecting older OG rappers like himself. LL referring to himself as the new Grandmaster of Hip Hop was something that enormously upset Kool Moe Dee, as he felt as though it was a slight to the OGs like Grandmaster Flash, Grandmaster Caz, and Grandmaster Melle Mel. He would then record a diss track against LL Cool J. The diss track being named How You Like Me Now on his How You Like Me Now album, in which the cover of said album was Kool Moe Dee's white Jeep running over a red Kangol bucket hat, the signature hat of LL Cool J if you didn't know. He would then make a music video for the song in which he attacks a rapper and claims them to be stealing his rhymes, as well as taking his persona and stealing his rap formula. He would also state LL to be more of a gimmicky, meant for targeting a certain type of audience type rapper, whereas Kool Moe Dee is able to entertain anybody who has the intelligence to understand and like his music. Kool Moe Dee would also go at LL for being pretty generic as a rapper for this time, as it usually takes very expressive characters to be successful in rap, hence why Kool Moe Dee was successful. He would state LL to also not be able to be a mainstay within the rap genre, as he wasn't really interesting, and he would also state that LL pretty much won't do better than an amateur rapper would against him. However, LL, being the rapper he was, would respond with the song Jack the Ripper, in which he would tote his commercial success over that of Kool Moe Dee's, as well as state that his style is fresher and newer, hence why he's being beloved at the moment. He would also state Kool Moe Dee to pretty much just be an old head hating on the new guy who's just trying to make a name for himself and make money. This was a pretty good response. However, Kool Moe Dee would end any semblance of this beef being very public by then releasing the diss track Let's Go, in which he comes at LL Cool J for having a weak response, in his opinion, and would go on to further diss LL for having weak bars as a rapper, state that he has an inauthentic personality, but pretty much state that because of this, he won't be able to make it last in the rap industry, essentially stating that LL at this point in his career is punching up by beefing with someone like Kool Moe Dee. This diss track was probably the best of its time at the time it came out, and LL would honestly never respond with a full diss track ever again against Kool Moe Dee, pretty much ending the beef as being pretty public and pretty apparent. LL, credit to him though, would never be deterred from a beef, as he would show with his next beef against rapper Canibus, an up-and-coming rapper from the Bronx. This beef would happen because Canibus was invited to spit a verse for LL Cool J's 4321 track featuring Master P, DMX, Redman, Method Man, and of course Canibus. This is a classic hip-hop track. Each verse was pretty iconic and is well remembered within hip-hop. However, LL would be at odds with Canibus after Canibus mentioned in his verse wanting to take the microphone tattoo off of LL's arm in his verse. This would cause LL to be so upset at the blatant disrespect he saw in the verse as to force Canibus to not only take it out of the song, but he would also in his verse make a response to Canibus's original verse, dissing him and going at him hard without mentioning his name. This would cause Canibus to feel extremely disrespected, as the verse by LL went extremely hard on him and mentioned him not being big enough to play with the others, and in fact mentioning himself to be the best rapper of all time, and not only that, cutting Canibus out of specific parts of the music video in order to diss him as well. This would anger Canibus very much. He would decide to channel that energy into possibly one of the greatest rap diss tracks of all time by the name of Second Round Knockout. In this song, he would go extremely hard at LL for not directly addressing him with his issues on the verse that Canibus originally wrote. Him not directly challenging him to a battle rap, as he felt that that would be more suitable to set out their differences. He would call out LL for claiming to be the best rapper of all time, as stating that Canibus believes that to be Biggie. He would also say that LL is not a role model as he pretends to be, and is in fact still a recovering drug addict. You can't mention New York hip-hop without mentioning the Bridge Wars, a war occurring between Bronx rapper KRS-One as well as his Boogie Down production crew going up against rappers from the area of Queensbridge. This all occurred because MC Shan and DJ Marley Marl would produce a song met with paying homage to their hood, Queensbridge, and KRS-One would take offense as though he felt as though they were stating that hip-hop started in Queensbridge. He would retaliate by releasing a song called South Bronx, calling them out for this and laying claim that they would die if they said whatever they said from Queensbridge and claimed it while being in the Bronx. This song would become a certified hit within the Bronx. The clubs loved it, the radios loved it. However, the only people that didn't love it were MC Shan and DJ Marley Marl. They would go up against KRS-One in a losing battle almost. This would cause KRS-One to further and more frequently have the song played in clubs. MC Shan as well as DJ Marley Marl with their Juice Crew would retaliate by creating a song called Kill That Noise, a pretty good song in which they retaliated by saying that KRS-One was essentially just trying to create fame off of MC Shan and the Juice Crew's already established name. This would cause KRS-One to predictably capitalize on this beef by creating another rap song in which he targeted all the Queensbridge rappers he could. He would come at rappers like Roxanne Shante, who will be later mentioned, MC Shan and the Juice Crew, as well as DJ Marley Marl, Craig G, Doug E. Fresh, Magic Mike. This was the first diss track aimed at an entire borough and not just one, two, or maybe even a group of rappers, but every rapper from the borough. And this would create a trend in which rappers went after entire boroughs when dissing them. However, this would also create a trend in Queens of rappers heavily representing their borough after KRS-One going at them so hard. Now let's speak on Roxanne Shante, a young rapper who would boost her career after not being recognized well enough by going at other rappers, mostly males, in order to build her career. She would first attack rap group UTFO. UTFO had created a certified hit by the name of Roxanne Roxanne, a song about a young beautiful woman ignoring every single one of the members' advances to her. This group would be asked by DJ Marley Marl, Tyrone Williams, and Mr. Magic to perform at a concert for them, a concert in which they would actually decide to cancel out on them out of nowhere and skip. DJ Marley Marl would decide to look for revenge. His revenge would be to seek out a young rapper by the name of Roxanne Shante from the Queensbridge Project, the same area as him. In this case, he would decide to ask her to record a diss track for him with a beat he produced. This diss track was called Roxanne's Revenge. She would play the part of the Roxanne on the song, ignoring all their advances by telling them exactly why she rejected all of them. This song was extremely hard and it went very hard at the group. Even though she had no personal beef with them, she thought this could maybe change her life as a rapper who wasn't very much appreciated, as her records weren't really being made right now. She was just a battle rapper in the streets. However, this would only be the beginning of the wars. UTFO would not respond with their own diss track themselves. However, they would get an artist, the real Roxanne, who was actually the model in their video, to come at Roxanne, not directly but in an indirect way, saying that Roxanne Shante was a fake Roxanne, as she's not as attractive. And now this would cause Roxanne Shante to retaliate by absolutely destroying the real Roxanne. Next, she would go on to decide to build her reputation as a rapper who will go at anybody by attacking KRS-One for mentioning her in The Bridge Is Over. He would actually first see her at a bank in which she would go off on him for even mentioning her. Then she would also attack other East Coast rappers. For example, she would attack MC Lyte, as well as Salt-N-Pepa. And as I mentioned before, she would go after KRS-One and the Juice Crew. With a song called Big Mama, she would pretty much announce to the world that it was a free-for-all and any MC can get it, male or female. With this concept in mind, it would create a trend of rappers attacking each other on wax in order to gain more notoriety, as she was not being appreciated as she could rap better than most of her contemporaries in any case. Roxanne Shante is honestly one of the best rappers of all time. She's definitely one of the best battle rappers of all time too. Nas himself even looked up to her and rapped for her as they were both from Queensbridge. She was definitely one of the most important and pivotal characters within rap's developmental years in the 80s and 90s. She's more than just important to New York hip-hop, but hip-hop in general. Next and lastly, we'll be covering the beef between Jay-Z and Nas, probably the most well-known within New York's beefs. This rap beef would occur because Nas would be invited by Jay-Z to appear on his Reasonable Doubt album on a track. Nas would miss his studio time for said track. However, this wouldn't be the start of beef, only little shots being thrown between another to determine who is the king of New York, but not really diss each other so much. For example, Nas would take Jay-Z's line, "As thoughts on my feet make my cipher complete," and switch it to "Suede Timbs on my feet make my cipher complete." And Jay-Z would take Nas's "I'm out for dead presidents" line from his song "This World Is Yours" and use it for his song "Dead Presidents." Shots were not yet thrown to diss each other. However, Memphis Bleek, a rapper on Jay-Z's Rockefeller Records, would begin to throw shots at Nas after he had gotten into a beef with the rap crew Mobb Deep from Queensbridge, a rap group that was also fond of Nas. This would cause Nas to decide to throw shots at Memphis Bleek, Beanie Sigel, Jay-Z, pretty much the entire Rockefeller roster. This would have very much angered Jay-Z, as he felt as though they had no beef or issues up to this point, even though Nas was throwing shots back and forth with Memphis Bleek. However, Jay-Z would release an album called Blueprint, in which he would drop a diss track called Takeover. This diss track was aimed at Mobb Deep and Nas. It would go extremely hard at both parties, especially Nas, in which it would call out Nas for being very soft and being a fake thug who's never sold drugs and never been in the streets like that, even though he comes from a really rough area. He would also call out Nas as being not even close to him in terms of sales, influence, and street authenticity, saying that he's writing raps based on his homies' lives, not his. He would also go on to say that Nas has had a fall from grace, as not even being mentioned within the top 10 after being considered one of the greatest MCs of all time. And also go on to say that he's only had one good album come out within 10 years and 4 albums, that being Illmatic, probably the most highly regarded rap album of all time. This was an extremely hard diss track by Jay-Z. It's considered one of the greatest diss tracks of all time, going at a rapper who nobody thought could be touched, but at the time was having a sort of period in his rap career in which we didn't know where he would go from here. It was sort of a consensus that in a way Nas was starting to fall off. And this diss track was seen as good enough to put Nas in the ground for good and not only stop his beef with Jay-Z, but stop him from rapping altogether and pretty much sink into retirement. People pretty much expected Nas to just give up after this and go. However, Nas himself would release possibly the greatest diss track of all time, Ether, in which he would go extremely hard at Jay-Z, calling him out for a myriad of things that people had overlooked over the years. He would call Jay-Z out for misogynistic behavior and getting into fights publicly with women. He would also state the drastic difference in rap persona that Jay-Z started out with as being a fun-loving little rapper versus now, which was at this point a hard crack dealer from the streets of Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn, and the Marcy Projects. He would also state that Jay-Z was still riding the coattails of the man who helped build him up early in his rap career, Jazz. He would also state Jay-Z to be ugly, only able to get women because of his money now, hence his interactions with Foxy Brown. He would also state Jay-Z to steal names and lines from other rappers like Big, and took his album name from KRS-One, The Blueprint. He would state Jay-Z to be a secret super fan of Nas, love his style, everything about him, and state him to be an overly emotional man who Nas feels sorry for because he has love and respect for Jay-Z as a rapper, but sees that he's traded his soul for riches, money, and fame. He would also state Jay-Z to be very fake by saying that he's the best rapper of all time. Meanwhile, he had previously said that Biggie was the best rapper of all time, taking away from that statement in which he claimed Biggie was the best, now that he's gone. And even so, taking rhymes from Biggie. Nas would also then call out Jay-Z by saying that his rapper Beanie Sigel from his label was a better rapper than him, as he got chased out of his own project apartment building and even tried to call Nas. Despite Nas never giving him his number, Jay-Z was still able to have access to it. This diss track was seen as the most powerful diss track of all time when it came out, and it still holds up today. Many thought Jay-Z would never respond, but definitely didn't think his career was over the same way people thought Nas's career would be over after Takeover had came out. However, Jay-Z would decide to respond with a song called Super Ugly, in which he would come at Nas for a myriad of things he'd already called him out for in Takeover. He would call Nas out for being a fake thug and fake drug dealer again, and state that he's had his chain snatched from him and had to pay for it back each time. However, Jay-Z would also state that Nas ran out of the Sound Lab studio as Jay-Z was recording his Dynasty mixtape after Nas found out that they were all in the same recording studio, that being Jay-Z, Beanie Sigel, and Memphis Bleek during the Memphis Bleek beef. Jay-Z going on to say that he didn't even want to hurt Nas, he was just trying to say hi to him, and Nas, out of fear, was running away before he could even do so. He would still go on to say that Nas was a fake thug, fake drug dealer, and again call him a coward, say he's sweet, and say everything that Nas said in Ether was a lie about him. However, he would get very personal with Nas by stating that he's had a 3-year affair at least with his first baby mother, Carmen, who was his wife at the time of the affair. This was a pretty personal attack by Jay-Z, as it seemed he was trying to do his best to embarrass Nas by airing out his dirty laundry about his previous relationship and marriage. He would go into graphic detail about the altercations between him and Nas's ex-wife, and then would decide to state that if Nas's current baby mother and wife was able to, she would leave Nas for Jay-Z. All around, this diss track was extremely disrespectful, not in a good way, and wouldn't shed any further light on Jay-Z as being the victor. He would definitely not be seen as coming out on top with any sort of victory in this beef. In fact, it was so bad that on Hot 97, Jay-Z's mother called in and asked him to apologize about the song to Nas's family as well as herself. He would apologize to any and all female listeners to make sure the song didn't offend them, and also apologize to his mother. This beef was an extremely pivotal point in New York hip-hop. It was extremely important to New York hip-hop at the time, as we were entering the 2000s and seeing a bunch of other states with rising talent similar to New York. New York had never seen a beef like this before it, and really neither had any other state. Two in their prime MCs going at each other who had pretty much godlike ability on the pen and were probably the two best rappers to ever come out of their state. Both competing for the crown and later becoming friends in life. Jay-Z even admits that Nas, in his opinion, won the beef, as most people drew this consensus. Jay-Z admits that the beef was pretty much over after Ether, and he respects Nas as a rapper and friend. Thanks for watching this full video if you did. There was a lot of things I didn't include specifically because it didn't pertain or didn't seem important to me or New York rap history. I was covering specific events and beefs, not really just individual songs. However, there'll be a part 2 on the 2000s and 2010s era of New York rap and their beefs, as well as the drill rap scene that's going out through New York. Anyway, thank you for your time. Appreciate you watching. Leave any comments about what you thought of this video and ideas of what I should do on the next video. Have a great day. Thank you.